Layla walked through the streets of her city like a silent shadow. Although the world around her was vibrant and full of life, she felt frozen inside, stuck at the moment of pain she had never been able to move past. She feared places that held memories of her past, avoided conversations that might reopen old wounds, and preferred isolation because it was easier than facing the truth. Yet deep within, there was an unspoken longing for freedom. She didn't want to remain a prisoner of fear, but she didn't know how to begin her journey to healing. There was an internal struggle. One part of her clung to the safety of the walls she had built around herself, while another part yearned to break free, to breathe without carrying the weight that accompanied every step. Her friends, noticing her constant sadness, tried to help. They had seen her withdraw into a shell, her vibrant eyes dimming with each passing day. They had watched helplessly as she turned down invitations, choosing solitude over shared laughter. Their friendship was strong, woven with empathy and understanding, but it had its limits. They couldn't force her to open up, couldn't pull her out of the darkness that threatened to consume her whole. One evening, as they sat around a table, trying to figure out a way to help their friend, Sarah spoke up. "I think we need to encourage her to seek professional help." Her words hung in the air, heavy with both hope and uncertainty. Layla had been resistant to the idea of therapy in the past, finding comfort in the familiar ache of her solitude. But now a seed of curiosity had been planted. As days turned into weeks, Layla found herself thinking about Sarah's words. The idea of therapy, once dismissed out of hand, now flickered in her thoughts like a distant flame. It wasn't an easy decision. The thought of confronting her pain head-on was terrifying. But the alternative, a life lived in shadows, was no longer appealing. So she took a deep breath, picked up her phone, and made an appointment. When Layla walked into the therapist's office, she carried with her the weight of unspoken emotions, years of bottled-up feelings that had hardened into knots within her chest. Her steps were slow, each echoing the heavy toll her hidden grief had taken. The room was quiet, devoid of any distractions, offering a stark contrast to the cacophony of thoughts that raced through her mind. As she sat down, she felt exposed, vulnerable, stripped bare under the weight of expectations that suddenly seemed too heavy to bear. She wasn't sure why she had come, what she hoped to find in this sterile, silent room. But something within her, some tiny ember of hope, urged her to stay. The therapist, a man with kind eyes and a calm demeanor, noticed the turmoil behind her forced composure. He didn't rush her, didn't push her to speak. Instead, he sat with her in the silence, letting his quiet presence be a soothing balm to her raw nerves. Time ticked by, measured in seconds that stretched into minutes. And in that quiet space, Layla began to unravel. The dam that had held back a torrent of tears finally broke. She cried, releasing pent-up emotions that had turned into a physical ache. The therapist, Dr. Evans, remained a steady presence throughout, his gaze filled with understanding rather than judgment. After her initial outburst, Layla fell silent again, composing herself as best she could. When she spoke, her voice was shaky but determined. "How do I start?" she asked, the question echoing the turmoil in her heart. Dr. Evans leaned forward, his tone soft yet firm. "By acknowledging that you're here," he replied, "that you've taken the first step towards healing." Layla nodded slowly, realizing the truth in his words. The first step was indeed the hardest, but it was also the most crucial. It was a commitment to herself, a promise to confront the demons that had kept her imprisoned in her own life. As the weeks passed, Layla became a regular at Dr. Evans' office. Each visit was a new battle, a confrontation with the ghosts of her past. But she was no longer alone in this war. Dr. Evans became her guide, helping her navigate the treacherous terrains of her grief. He taught her coping mechanisms, strategies to deal with the sudden waves of emotion that threatened to drown her. He showed her that it was okay to feel, to acknowledge the pain, and it was in that acknowledgement that she began to heal. There were setbacks, moments when the weight of the past became too much, and she wanted to give up, but something kept her going. Perhaps it was the memory of the vibrant, hopeful girl she once was. Or maybe it was the knowledge that life had more to offer than the prison she'd been living in. Whatever the reason, she kept going. During one of their sessions, Dr. Evans posed a simple yet profound question to Layla. What do you want your life to look like? The question hung in the air between them, challenging Layla to envision a future beyond the confines of her pain. Layla had never allowed herself to think beyond survival. Dreams had seemed like luxuries, reserved for those who didn't live in the suffocating grip of her past. But with a deep breath, she began to paint a picture. I want to laugh without crying afterwards, she whispered, the words carrying the weight of unspoken longing. I want to feel the sun on my skin and not flinch. I want to feel alive. Dr. Evans nodded, understanding the depth of her desire. That's a beautiful place to start, he said, his voice a beacon of encouragement in her darkness. And so Layla started to rebuild her life. Brick by painful brick, she began to set boundaries, not allowing others to walk over her or dismiss her feelings. She reconnected with old hobbies, finding solace in the rhythm of creating. She even started volunteering, pouring her energy into helping others, which gave her a sense of purpose that had been missing from her life. It wasn't a linear path. There were days when the pain threatened to pull her back into the abyss, but she fought with the ferocity of a cornered lioness, protecting her hard-earned peace. With each passing month, Layla became stronger, not in a way that erased her scars, but in a way that made her scars a map of her resilience. The walls she had built around her heart remained, but now she held the key. They were no longer a cage, but a fortress, protecting her newfound peace while allowing love and hope to trickle in. One day, as Layla sat in Dr. Evans' office, she realized she wasn't the same person who had walked through those doors months ago. She was stronger, wiser, more whole. I feel like I'm finally coming back to life, she confessed to Dr. Evans, her voice trembling with emotion. Dr. Evans smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. You were always alive, Layla, he replied. You just needed to find your way back to yourself. Layla knew he was right. She had always been alive, even in her darkest moments. But it was in this journey of healing that she truly began to live. She walked out of the therapist's office that day with a lightness in her step she hadn't felt in years. The sun seemed brighter, the colors more vibrant. She could feel the pulse of life all around her and within her. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled. A smile that reached her eyes. A smile that promised hope for the future. Layla's story is a testament to the power of confronting one's pain and the transformative journey of healing. It shows that the path to recovery is not always easy, but with the right support and a willingness to grow, one can emerge stronger and more resilient. Layla's courage in seeking help and her determination to rebuild her life serve as an inspiration, reminding us that even in the darkest moments, the human spirit has the capacity to heal and thrive.